many times have I told you to do the dishes? I want these done by the time I get home.
Sure thing, babe. God damn it.
Ah, you did the dishes. Thank you. They look so clean. See? That wasn't so hard, was it?
No problem, babe.
Why don't you say we have dinner? I hope you haven't had anything to spoil your appetite.
Starting off with the buckshot. Here we go, the Panzer AR12. Even though this gun is made in Turkey, I assume they're using the German word Panzer, which means tank or armor, hence the famous Panzer Shrek. But anyways, this video is about a gun that seems about the size of a rocket launcher. How the hell am I going to keep this thing in frame? Basically, it's an AR style 12 gauge semi-auto shotgun that takes detachable magazines. And because this video is titled The Best Piece of Junk I Own, let's go and start with everything that went wrong with it. God damn it. So first of all, the finish on this is pretty cool. It's got this desert camo look to it, sort of like a digital pattern. And it looks great at first glance. But the more you use it, I noticed that it started rubbing off. You can clearly see that right here. And it's where I'm putting my left hand. Then also from where I put my cheek, which it's not even really on the cheek riser. It's more in front of the cheek riser, has also started to rub off. And especially if you have any kind of bug spray on your hand or on your face, anything that's alcohol based that's going to rub up against this gun, it's going to wear the camo pattern off a lot quicker than just normal handling. So the safety, which I would really like because it feels really good and it works just fine. You're wondering what kind of problems do I have with the safety? I mean, it works just like it should. See? If you look at on this side, I'll try and do a zoom in here. You can see that the safety actually somehow broke in half. I'm not exactly sure how and when that happened, but at some point the safety just completely broke in half, and this part popped out somewhere, and I've lost that. So even though the safety has broken in half right here, it hasn't broken enough to where it doesn't work. So you can see if I have it on safe, I cannot pull the trigger, take it off safe. So the gun still operates just fine. I mean, the safety operates just fine, just as it should. And it's actually a pretty nice safety. I mean, it's not like too stiff or anything, but it's also not loose enough to where, it'll just actuate without you wanting it to. So these sights are Magpul M-Bus sights. These are not the sights that came with it. The sights that came with them look very similar to Magpul M-Bus sights. They're complete knockoffs, and they're a little cheaper. When I went to adjust the windage for the first time on the rear sight, and I was twisting this little wheel right here, at some point the ball bearing and detent spring went flying out. So I just replaced that cheap sight that it came with actual Magpul M-Bus sights. And these have held up just fine. The butt pad, while comfortable, it did break on me. This piece that snaps in at the top just completely broke over time. Another issue I had with this gun is the takedown is pretty difficult. All the parts fit together very tight, and everything's very stiff to take down and put back together. So I tried not to do it, and I haven't actually cleaned this gun in a pretty long time. It's probably gone through maybe about 200 rounds without it being cleaned. And then the last major issue I had was with something that shouldn't be on this gun at all. It's this cheek riser. When in the history of shotguns have you ever needed a cheek riser? And what happens is, under a lot of recoil, after a dozen or so rounds, this thing starts working its way up to the point where you try and put your face on here to aim, and you cannot get a decent sight picture until you realize that this thing is sitting about an inch up. And then so you loosen this, you put it down all the way, as far down as it will go, and then you tighten it as much as you can. You shoot another dozen rounds, and the same thing happens. So I tightened this thing down as much as possible with some Loctite on there, and so far it hasn't really budged on me. I don't know what they're thinking as far as putting a cheek riser on here. I mean, it looks cool, but that's about it. Sometimes when you see weird things that don't make a lot of sense on imported guns, it's usually to meet some sort of importation requirement. And the only requirement that I can really think of is that they maybe are trying to import this as a sporting shotgun, even though this is clearly like a tactical gun in just about every single way. You can hunt with this, and you could definitely skeet shoot with this, but I mean, there are so many better shotguns on the market to do that with. This, for me, I mean, I wouldn't even use this as a home defense shotgun, even though it is reliable. We will get to that in a second. But there are so many other better options out there that this is really just a fun gun for me. And now, despite all of that negativity, I still absolutely love this gun, mostly because of its reliability. Like I said, it's a pain in the ass to take down. I have not cleaned this gun in at least a couple hundred rounds, and it chews up and spits out just about anything that I put in it. So this is going to be an endurance test of sorts. We're going to start off with some high brass, because that's what semi-auto shotguns like. And then we're going to move on to some low brass birdshot. But starting off, we got some double aught buck, and then we're going to move on to a 1 ounce slug, five rounds of each. Then 10 rounds of low brass birdshot, again with 10 rounds of birdshot, but this is 1 1/8 ounce. That's just 1 ounce. So I want to see if, as we go down in weight, if it causes any cycling issues. And then just for fun, there's 20 rounds in the drum of some more birdshot, and that is also 1 1/8 ounce. So starting off with the buckshot. I don't know, it's not locking back on the last round. That's not a good start. Don't know what happened there, but let's keep going. Here is 1 ounce slugs. Woo! All right, let's go down to some birdshot. Let's try it one more time. Not bad. Now this right here is this 1 ounce birdshot. We'll see if it cycles. Could probably use a little grease on that bolt. 100%. 20 rounds, birdshot to finish it off. Let's go. Alright, there we go. I knew that was going to happen. Alright, let's try one more time. This time, I'm going to hold the drum. There we go. The drum does not stay back on the last round, but I'd say that was pretty successful. Oh man, my shoulder's probably going to feel that in the morning. But everything's operating pretty much how it should. It seems to cycle, do everything it's supposed to. Ooh, it's a little warm. It's actually really warm, but this is kind of a heat shield up here. It does come loose though, so I was just kind of tightening it a bit. And flashlight still works. This is a budget flashlight, so that's pretty cool. Did pretty good. From high brass buckshot and slugs to low brass birdshot, this thing runs very reliably, and you don't have to mess with the gas system like you do on a lot of other semi-auto shotguns. For example, before I got the Panzer, I had the Rock Island VR60, and the VR60, it can run high brass and low brass, but it comes with a gas cylinder that you're supposed to swap out in between the two different loads, and that just added for a lot of confusion and a lot more extra time on the range. Whereas this, you can run buckshot, slugs, high brass stuff through it, as well as low brass birdshot without skipping a beat. And you don't need to change out any gas cylinder or mess with any settings in any way. It runs just fine. Flies everywhere. Now for a reliability test. I wanted to see how this gun can handle alternating between high brass and low brass. So I have some buckshot with some birdshot every other round. Let's see how it does. Just fine. I did have also that I used in the video, and I used the rest of it, so I don't have any to show you right now. But I was also using some really cheap Wolf double out buck, and for whatever reason, I got it on camera. That thing literally created a fire inside the chamber during one of my shooting sessions. But to really test the gun out, I was also using some Winchester slugs. These are 1 ounce slugs that are moving 1,760 feet per second. It is a 3-inch shell, so there's a lot of gunpowder in here. This gun is a very reliable gun with all sorts of different kinds of 12 gauge ammunition. So I know y'all are wondering, how will mini shells do in a semi-auto shotgun? Oh wait, what's that? You're not wondering? Well, I'm going to show you anyways. I did fire a few off camera and it does not cycle. It will load into the gun like that. It will chamber the round. It will fire the round. It will eject it, but it will not load the next round. And I want to see if I can get this on slow motion. Almost. But oh, that time it actually did not eject it. The mini shells do load in the magazine, just like any round. I had 3 in there, so 2 left. There we go. Let's see if it'll cycle. It doesn't, and the top one just rested on top of the magazine. Let's see here. I bet. Yep. There we go. So it fires. It chambers. It kind of ejects, but it won't cycle. So like I was saying, the magazines, they work just fine. You're not going to have drop-free magazines. You can see it when I press. Okay, well, it worked that time. Usually it doesn't work. But whenever you press the mag release button, see, it doesn't always drop free. But these magazines are really good. It comes with 2 5-round magazines, and there are also 10-round magazines that look very similar. It's these ones right here. And I really like them. It does hang off the gun quite a lot. I also have the 20-round drum mag right here. And I mean, this 20-round drum mag kind of gives it the anti-aircraft looking profile to it. I mean, this thing is just massive with this drum mag on here. But it looks great. I think it looks awesome. And it's relatively reliable. I actually haven't had any stoppages of any kind, any jams. It does not stay back on the last round, as you can see. But one huge issue with this drum mag, and keep in mind that this is just a sample of one. I'm not sure if other people are experiencing this issue as well. I do see that these drum mags are advertised to work in the AR12. Almost every single time I shoot with this drum mag in here, it likes to just drop straight out of the gun. Now you can mitigate that issue by holding the drum mag like this while you're shooting the gun. However, you don't really want to hold it like really tight in there because you can induce jams that way. But if you just kind of let it hang and simply support it with your left hand, then the drum's not going to go anywhere, and it's usually going to run pretty reliably. However, that's really just for fun. More practically, I guess I use the 10-round magazines the most, but the 5 and 10-round magazines are almost 100% reliable, and they lock back on the last round, and magazine changes between the two of them. Pretty simple. And you'd think that with the size of the magazines, you'd think that they would hold more. I mean, this right here, I'm pretty sure it's bigger than a 30 round AR-15 magazine. Yet it only holds 5 rounds, and 5 rounds can go pretty quickly. So I just wish that maybe they made these magazines into something like a double stack mag, or even like a 1.5 stack mag, if that's correct terminology. I don't think so. But if it was a little bit wider, after it came out of the mag well here, then you could probably put in a few more rounds. If I was able to put 8 rounds in this instead of 5, and maybe 15 rounds in this instead of 10, I think that would just make this a lot better of a shooting experience. And speaking of shooting experience, that's one thing that I love about this gun. It actually feels really good. It's a big gun, but for a guy that's my stature, it actually feels really good to shoot. It might be a little bit more difficult, especially with its 9-pound heft, because this gun right here, as you see it, with the 5-round mag, does come in right at about 9 pounds. It would probably be a little bit more difficult for somebody smaller to shoot, but for somebody that doesn't mind big guns, this thing is great to shoot. And the 9-pound heft, I think, kind of helps with some of the recoil. So it's not really like it's just a pain in the ass to shoot or anything like that. It's actually quite fun. And one more thing to talk about, as far as things that I really like about this gun, it's not actually something that came with this gun. It's actually the only accessory that I have on this gun, which is this flashlight. I do have a riser right here, but really that's for aesthetics. I just think that looks kind of cool. And it was on there because originally when I first got this, I put a red dot on here, but I realized that this gun is a lot better with iron sights. But this flashlight, it's a very low budget. I think it was like $26. You can still find it on Amazon right now as of, what are we in? June? June 2021. And it's the MCCC 500 lumen tactical flashlight. And this thing works great under 12 gauge recoil. I mean, it still turns on just fine. And it has this secondary button right here, which is for a strobe mode. And that secondary button also adjusts the brightness of the light. So I think I have it on the highest right now. There's the middle and then the lowest. And it'll also remember that. So if I turn it off on the lowest, turn it back on, it'll stay on the lowest. And then say I want to bump it back up to the highest. Just click that one more time. And then, like I said, if the light's off, you hold it down, you got your strobe. So I actually can't recommend this flashlight enough. I really like it, and I'm glad that it holds up to all the recoil from 12 gauge slugs, 12 gauge buckshot, birdshot, everything you can throw at a 12 gauge shotgun. This flashlight seems to hold up to just fine. And for only $26, I mean, come on, you can't go wrong. So there are a couple of things that I wanted to talk about that aren't bad, but they're also not great. I love this gun. There's a lot of things I love about it. However, the trigger is not one of those things. It's not a bad trigger, but first off, when you have it on safe, it's pretty loud. And then when you take it off safe, it has not a lot of travel. There's a little bit of travel, and it's kind of spongy, but it has a relatively clean break, and it's not terrible. Reset is also not too bad. Well, I take that back. It's kind of a long reset, but then you pull it again, and you can really feel the mushiness. So there is that going for it. And then the second thing that I'm not totally in love with is this grip right here. It is a rubberized grip. Rubberized grips tend to stick a little bit. It's not really that big of a deal considering that I'm not going to be using this in like a home defense situation, or I'm not going to be like getting in and out of vehicles with this thing. But I do like the plastic grips a little bit better, like Magpul or some of the other plastic ones out there. I'm kind of drawing a blank on other names right now. But this one also has this finger groove, or a finger separator kind of thing right here, which, sits in between like your middle and ring finger. And I don't mind it, but a lot of people tend to not really like finger grooves and grips because everybody's hand's different. And then the last thing to really talk about is this bolt release right here. Doesn't really happen that much with the 5-round mag, but these 10-round mags that have a stiffer spring, it's actually kind of difficult to press down on that bolt release to send the bolt forward. And, it's not really that big of a deal, but it's just something that I feel like they could have done maybe a little bit better. But from what I know about this Gen 1/Gen 2, whatever this one is, I would definitely recommend that you go out and get the Gen 4 Panzer AR12. It's a really fun gun. It's literally a blast. No pun intended, or maybe pun actually intended, because putting 10 rounds, even 20 rounds with the drum mag when it works and when ammo prices aren't ridiculous, putting a bunch of slugs or buckshot, like high brass 12 gauge shotgun shells through a semi-auto shotgun is a very exhilarating experience. Well, welcome back to the Amateur Hour Science Channel. Today, we're going to see what happens to a Bud Light Lime when it's shot by a 1-ounce slug traveling 1,760 feet per second. So I still have 2 more Bud Light Lime. That was my last slug, so let's go and finish them off with some birdshot.
All right.
Action.
Aw, you did the dishes, and they look so clean. Thank you. See? That wasn't so hard, was it?
No problem, babe.
Why don't we say we have dinner?
I forgot.
Alright.
Hence the famous Panzer Shrek, which literally means taint.